Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome to my new video. I will be talking about today the stats and affixes to focus on a barb. Because I see too many barbs having all over the place the stats and whatnot. I just finished solo clearing tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon. The footage will be up on YouTube in a bit. In like a day or two, we'll see about that. But basically, you're gonna start with everyone's favorite, offensive affixes. So there are a few buckets. So basically this game is so-called damage buckets. And there are a couple of those that have their separate bucket. And that's what we want for damage. So nothing interferes with that. So the first one will be vulnerable. Second one will be crit damage slash crit chance. Next up we got damage with core or close enemies. It depends if you're using Unbridled Rage or not. More to that later. Another one will be main stat, which is strength for us. Skill damage increase. And last one would be attack speed, very great scaler for DPS. Faster attacks means higher DPS. But there is one thing where most barbs focus on damage versus close, even when running Unbridled Rage, which I don't think is maximizing DPS. Sure, you can roll a higher number on damage versus close enemies on items, but the thing with Unbridled Rage is, if we can see in the brackets here, it has X. X means multiplied. So anything with plus core skill damage is multiplied. So that's why I could reach over 500% with core skill even with 4 items. Let's take a 25.5% right here. We should be around like 490 something, right? But as you can see, we just lost like 60, exactly 60% core skill. It's more than a double from this item. So there is just with that. Another key thing, which I think is more important than damage in endgame content, mainly talking about Nightmare Dungeons, is defensive aspects. Number one thing to focus on is armor and resistance, but resistance are useless. You cannot really reach those, so focus on armor first. This one gets armor gets calculated first in the damage mitigation or in the formula, and after armor we got damage reductions, and then we get life, basically life. It's like separate, if you will. Those three are separate buckets. So armor is first. You can see I'm at 9,000 unbuffed. I've seen a graph that armor was capped at 13,000 against the highest level mobs, which is 154 in tier 100 Nightmare. But I tested 13,000. I tested 14 and a half, and I could notice the difference. I don't think 13,000 is correct, but I didn't really do a detailed testing, so what do I know? I went by the feel. So after armor, we're gonna focus on damage reductions, and with Barb and Paragon Board, I'll show in a second, there are 2 key DRs, which is damage from close and bleeding. And then from items, you wanna get for fortified, right? These 3 are the most important. I try to run more sources of DR, like all DR, distant on top of that, even more injured, fortified, and all that jazz, and it's not worth it. I mitigated way less damage than before than with this setup. I'm mitigating more damage here with this one. So you want to focus on fewer DRs and try to max them out. Where on contrary, offensive affixes, you want to focus on like 5 buckets, right? You want to have more. The more the better. Here, the less the better. But basically, bleeding and close. And I'll explain why bleeding as well. So I'm running 7 Paragon boards, 7 glyphs. And that's why you see me with 700 willpower. It's because of this last DR node. Even if I change things up, it would still be willpower on these nodes. I'm not really running these because they're worthless. Physical, this is dots. We didn't run dots. And this one is whatever. They will just give you more damage while berserking. Not that important if you hit the dex. But yeah, we got 2 boards for bleeding and 2 for close. This is 2 bleeding, 2 close. So basically, we got Carnage for damage reduction versus close. We got weapon flawless technique versus close. Right here. And then we got Blood Rage with Bleeding DR, and we got Hemorrhage once again with the Bleeding DR. Those are the 4 boards I went for. Another one is Vulnerable Damage, mainly for the offensive nodes here, because once again it's the most important damage or DPS affix, but also as damage reduction for vulnerable enemies. Now we have Exploit Glyph that even applies to those distant mobs. I'm running Steel Grasp. Double Swing is keeping enemies non-stop vulnerable. That's why the build is so goddamn good. But yeah, another board is the Strength one, which is armor one, which is Weapon Master right here. I really like this one. You could even put the glyph that enhances these magic nodes, but I put those glyphs into the R's here. But you could do that if you struggle with armor. And I would say this Paragon board is a perfect setup for every single build for Barb. Sure, we have crit damage with one-handed weapons here. So you could totally, reroute for these extra stat nodes because it's the same amount. And just go with that because you don't need one-handed crit damage if you're running 200 build. So I'm planning to play Upheaval build. I already started leveling with it, practicing for the first season. So I'll share a leveling build for Upheaval. I'll share a leveling build for Double Swing. A lot of you asked for that one, so for sure. And I would say this is pretty much it. Also, another thing, you want to focus on life. Life is very important. So I have Ruby Gems for max HP. I run the max HP on both rings and then headpiece. I do not take HP over damage reductions or armor on both chest and pants. Also with damage reductions, you want to mirror these two pieces. You want to have exactly the same damage reductions on these two pieces. I finally managed to get that. It's pretty hard to get these items, and even more so to roll armor on that, or like the last perk. It was a lot of gold. And I would conclude it with this. Yeah, I hope this helped you, everybody, all the barbs out there for the first season, because I think this is very crucial and important. And I cannot wait to test more stuff, Theorycraft, for the first season. Anyways, y'all take it easy. I stream every day in the on Twitch. All the links will be in the description and the comment section. And until then, have a good one and peace out.